earlier this week, we spoke about my top 10 teams to use when you're starting a FIFA 22 career mode, and you guys showed mad love on that video. Grateful. So that means one thing, it is now time to talk about my top 10 teams that need rebuilding in FIFA 22 career mode. We're talking about big teams, we're talking about small teams, we're talking all over the world. But doing a career mode of any of these 10 teams is bound to be a fun experience. But guys, if you do go on to enjoy today's video, leave a like. Also, let me know if there's any other FIFA 22 career mode topics or lists like this you want me to make. Let me know in the comments down below. And also, if you're new around here, bloody scorpion kick that subscribe button on the back end, getting close to 400,000 subscribers. But without further ado, let's move on to the list. And the first club is going to be FC Barcelona. We all know the mess that they are in at the moment. Messi is out of the club. They are in extreme financial difficulties and they are in an extreme need of a rebuild. Now, if you are to do a rebuild with Barcelona, I'm going to say that you are not allowed to spend any money in season number 1. You have to reduce the wage bill and you need to get players that are on just ridiculous amounts of money, like the likes of like Braithwaite and these sorts of guys. You need to reduce their wages or just get them out of the club. Doing a Barcelona career mode without these rules is kind of pointless because I'm sure FIFA will still give them 100 million or so euros to work with. But if you're really about that rebuild lifestyle, you're going to do a rebuild with Barcelona. No Messi, obviously, and no transfers spent in the no transfer budget available in season number 1. It feels as if Barcelona and La Liga have been on a steady decline for a number of years now. So help Barcelona become one of the biggest teams in the world again. In at number 2, we have Derby County, Wayne Rooney's Derby County. They are struggling ridiculously financially as well. Another club that is having financial hardships. It's really wild to see the downfall of Derby. A few years ago, Fulham, my club Fulham, were playing them in the championship playoffs and they were on the cusp. It felt like Derby were on the cusp of Premier League football for years. And now they've just gone down ridiculously. They are one of the favourites for relegation this season, and Wayne Rooney's men are struggling to even put a team on the field. I suggest a similar approach if you do decide to do a Derby County rebuild. Limit your finances. Get in young players and be savvy with your money. Bring in youth academy players and try to keep Derby County up in the championship this season and take them all the way to Champions League glory. You do have Ravel Morrison as well on the side though, so it could be a fun little side quest to try saving the career and reigniting the career of Ravel Morrison. I find it quite funny that Morrison has gone to Derby County, given the fact that Morrison and Wayne Rooney were former Manchester United teammates. That's a nice little touch. But yes, I suggest taking over the Rams and making them a solid club, not just a Champions League winner. Obviously that's the goal down the line, but actually help them survive and not tumble down the English footballing pyramid. So we are heading down to my neck of the woods for number 3 on this countdown. It is going to be the Perth Glory from the A-League. The club from Western Australia are in a weird spot at the moment. A few years ago, before COVID broke out, they were starting to build as one of the best teams in the country. They'd qualified for the Asian Champions League but were unable to compete in it due to the world essentially shutting down. And since then, their manager, Tony Popovic, a man I have a lot of love and respect for as a Western Sydney Wanderers fan, has left the club. He's gone overseas, come back and gone to the Melbourne Victory. But Perth are on a slow and steady decline down the footballing pyramid. They have made some quite nice additions to the side for this season, with former Liverpool goalkeeper Brad Jones joining the squad, and they have Brandon O'Neill coming back from a stint in Asian football and coming to the Perth Glory, the former Sydney FC midfielder. He's an absolute weapon. They've also brought in a few decent players across the park, like the likes of Jonathan Aspro Potomides. I've never known how to pronunciate his last name even when he played at the Wanderers. But the big one is the loss of Chris Economides, who has followed Tony Popovich and has gone to the Melbourne Victory. The big thing with Perth is their roster, their roster, like, it's an aging roster. Their goalkeeper stocks are what? They've got 39-year-old Brad Jones and 37-year-old Liam Reddy, or vice versa. Their goalkeeper's old, their squad is old. You need to bring a young core of players into the Perth Glory and try getting them back on track, because they were really building to be an A-League contender, and it's kind of all starting to unravel. Bruno Fornaroli isn't a spring chicken anymore. Their superstars are starting to get older and older. Can you get a young core of talent into the Perth Glory and help them win the Asian Champions League? In at number 4, we are once again headed to England. This time we are up in the top flight as we're headed to the Premier League, and we're headed to the south of England, as I suggest a Southampton rebuild. Now, if you watched my Premier League predictions video yesterday, you would have seen that I have predicted Southampton to be one of the relegated teams this season. They lost Danny Ings. They're about to lose Vestergaard, it seems, and they really haven't brought in many notable players. They've signed Adam Armstrong, but I genuinely feel like Southampton are in a world of bother. If James Ward-Prowse, the man pictured in this video, gets released or gets sold from the club, they are going to be in a world of pain. Southampton desperately need to make some signings. They need to keep themselves up in the Premier League, because whilst they were strong at the start of last season, the second half of the year, 2021, they were absolutely terrible. Found themselves top of the league to down in the relegation battle, and we're very lucky to stay up. Southampton are a club that I feel like most of us have love for. There's no real need to hate Southampton unless you're like a Brighton or a Portsmouth fan. So can you keep the Saints up in the Premier League? They've been up here for quite a long time now. Can you keep them as a Premier League side? You're going to have some work to do. Headed out of Europe once again and headed to North America. We are headed to the MLS, as I suggest a Toronto FC rebuild. I said it in the last top 10 FIFA 22 video, and I'll say it again. MLS saves are ridiculously underrated. Most of the licensed stadiums, the full graphics package, and some very exciting teams. But if you're looking to do an MLS rebuild, I suggest heading north of the border, heading to the 6, heading to Toronto. Toronto FC were a top club in the MLS a few years ago, but again, like a lot of these clubs, they have been on a steady decline. At the time of recording, they are one of the bottom teams in the MLS at the time of recording, and it's your job to get Toronto FC back up to the top of the MLS and also make them champions of North America. Or you could put them in the likes of the Championship or the EFL League One and see how Toronto FC fare in European football. That is also an option for any of the clubs that I list that are outside of Europe. To be fair, you could also do it for a club like any of the clubs that are in Europe. You could put them into Asia, or you could put them into North America and try winning their respective Champions League. But yes, if you are looking to do an MLS rebuild, I suggest Toronto FC. Coming in at number 6, we have a massive road to glory rebuild right here. FC Kaiserslautern in the German 3rd Division. Once upon a time, FC Kaiserslautern were a juggernaut of German football. They've done it all in the German game, but recent years they have faded into mediocrity and are currently playing in the 3rd division of German football. Their stadium is way too big and it's just too big of a club to be at this point. Can you take over FC Kaiserslautern, get them back up the German footballing pyramid, and once again make them a juggernaut in German and European football? They have an exciting list of young players, but they are just, they're in a world of hurt regardless. And again, I said it about the MLS, but I'll say it especially about the 3rd Liga. I think German road to glories are arguably more fun than English road to glories, mainly for the fact that there are a lot more licensed stadiums in the 2nd and 3rd division. And FC Kaiserslautern could be a great way to start your FIFA 22 experience and a great challenge to rebuild. It's definitely a rebuild not for the faint of heart. Definitely not a rookie rebuild. If you're a rookie to the rebuilding prospect, I would suggest starting with a big team like a Barcelona. Kaiserslautern are for you experienced rebuilders out there. So we have spoken about a German Road to Glory rebuild, and now it's time to head to EFL League 2 for a English Road to Glory rebuild. We're going to be talking about Scunthorpe United, who currently occupy in the EFL League 2. Scunthorpe United are lucky to still be in FIFA 22. They were the closest team to being relegated in League 2 last season. They narrowly avoided heading down to the National League and once again get to play in FIFA 22 and get to play in League 2. Scunthorpe United are definitely a club with ambition, however. They have big plans to rebuild their stadium and turn it into a modern boutique stadium, which is nice ambition from a League 2 club, but to do that, it's going to be very hard to build a new stadium and have the finances if you are relegated to the National League. So we're going to be taking over Scunthorpe United and trying to get them not only a stable foothold in English football, as once again they have been slowly dropping down. I mean, it feels like yesterday, I'm pretty sure they had Joey Barton at the club, but can you help Scunthorpe United stay up in EFL League 2 and then climb the English footballing pyramid? They're currently in real life at the start of this League 2 season. I know it's only a week or two into it, but they've had a pretty rough start to that season as well, so things are not looking great for Scunthorpe United. Help them stay up and build that stadium. 3 teams remain, and at in number 8, you might be thinking, Jared, who the hell is ODISHA FC? Well, the Indian Super League has been added to FIFA 22. That has been confirmed. So I think it's only right to do a team with the worst team in Indian football. ODISHA FC came last in the Indian Super League last season, and they are in need of a rebuild. Now, there is some big storylines around ODISHA FC. Recent news that is broke is that David Villa is now at the club. Now, David Villa won't actually be playing for ODISHA FC, but he has joined the Indian outfit as the head of the club's global football operations. They've also got Josip Gombau in the club as well, so if you are an A-League fan, you would definitely recognize that name. But there is a little bit of hype around ODISHA FC at the moment, despite finishing last in the Indian Super League last season. So I think it's going to be a really, really fun challenge to have ODISHA FC in the game, to have the Indian League in the game as well as a pretty cool addition. But they're going to be a massive challenge. Arguably, the Indian League are going to have some of the worst teams in the game. So can you help ODISHA FC climb up either the Asian or European footballing ladder? I genuinely think doing an Indian rebuild in FIFA 22 is going to be tougher than like an Irish one. I know in the past I've done ones with like Waterford and these sorts of teams that have been ridiculous. This could be harder. Ironically enough, for number 9, we have another David Villa connection, but we are headed to Spanish La Liga for the second time in today's rebuild video, as I suggest a rebuild with Valencia. They have, in my opinion, one of the coolest, one of the best stadiums in world football and in FIFA 22. Right in the heart of Valencia. They are a club that need to be performing better than they are. A few years ago, Valencia were a solid Champions League contender, but they've had a bit of a bad run of form in recent years. We all know the Gary Neville situation where he was the manager of Valencia and almost got them relegated. They climbed their way back up after that, and they've just gone straight down to mediocrity again, really struggling to break in to that Spanish top 4 mold. But Spanish football is vulnerable at the moment, and this is a great opportunity to do a rebuild on Valencia. Can you get them not only as a solid top 4 club once again, but can you get them as European champions? This is a rebuild that I would think would take around 5 seasons or so to do, and it could be a great challenge to start FIFA 22. I know I said earlier that if Barcelona is the top tier of challenge, the likes of KAISERSLAUTERN and Scunthorpe are right at the bottom as the most difficult. Valencia are probably an intermediate dream. So that's why in at number 9, I am suggesting Valencia as a rebuild. And the 10th and final club that I suggest rebuilding in FIFA 22 is Hearts from the Scottish League. Scottish League rebuilds are always a mad amount of fun, especially having the playoffs at the end of the season. Hearts are I would say they should be a big club. They should be performing so much better than they have been in recent memory. I do believe when I made a video about this, about the top 10 teams to rebuild in FIFA 20, 2 years ago, Hearts made the list as well. And well, it is disappointing to see not much has changed there. Hearts were relegated from the Scottish Premiership 2 seasons ago and have been promoted once again. So they're back in FIFA 22 after missing out in FIFA 21. And the big challenge is keeping Hearts in the top flight once again. I've got to say, you can see their kit on the right hand side there. They have perhaps some of the cleanest kits in European football for the upcoming season. They are going to be an aesthetical dream. Not only are they going to be an aesthetic dream, they are going to be a real challenge to try breaking the mold, trying to get past the likes of Celtic and Rangers, climbing up the ladders of Scottish football, and then once again trying to establish a foothold in European football. I think Hearts are going to be a real challenge, but a real fun experience, a real fun rebuild to do to kick off FIFA 22. So lads, those are my top 10 teams that I think you should be rebuilding in FIFA 22. Let me know in the comment section down below who the first team you're going to be rebuilding in FIFA 22 is. But most importantly, I hope you have a fantastic day. It has been Jared HD here. I'm out. Peace.